I'm going to be diving into a lot of different parts of news. Pretty much we are fucked. So we'll start with that, and then I'm going to get into some XRP and how I think XRP could like tie into all of this. But yeah, stick around because you're not going to want to miss this one. This is going to be the weekly newsletter, the weekly roundup, part 25. Pab's actually away on holiday, so this is going to take that place. So it's a bit of a longer video, but we've got so much to talk about here. Like, I actually can't believe what's going on. I've never seen anything like this in my time investing or my life, I don't think. So yeah, I actually do think we could be playing into the hands of XRP and cryptocurrency right now. I'm going to get into why. But yeah, as I said, bear with me, and let's just start with this from the Bank of England. I don't really know what else to say, guys, but I hope you enjoy this video because it is a banger. Like, there's a lot going on here. So they're going to do whatever necessary to basically have yield curve control on government bonds. Like, we've seen what happened with Japan when they did a similar thing. You can't have yield curve control and not let your currency collapse, because essentially what you're doing is pumping money into the market by buying back all the bonds that people don't want anymore. So the market gets flooded with pounds, and that makes the pound weak. But the Bank of England's trying to make a choice now between the economy and the pound as a currency. And I've been going on about this for so long, but I'm gonna touch on it a bit more in a second. At the same time, we've got a pension fund crisis, 65 billion bailout by banks. This is from 5 hours ago. Britain's pension funds on Wednesday were at the centre of the financial crisis, sparked by the mini budget at the Bank of England. 65 billion emergency bailout. And this is what I've been going on about for so flipping long, and I've been using America as my example in the newsletter. I'm going to get into that in a second. But if you let the stock market collapse too fast, pension companies who are leveraged, all flipping companies are leveraged because we're greedy as humans. Stock market collapses too fast, see you later to pensions, and then you've got a bigger problem than flipping inflation, because all of a sudden you're going to have all the people who are supposed to be claiming their pensions have got no money, going to have to come back into the workforce. What the hell do you do as an economy? So like the Fed, the Bank of England, the central bank, like the ECB, the European Central Bank, they're like juggling between inflation and a collapsed economy. And a collapsed economy means more than just like, oh, stock prices are going down, because everyone's blooming pensions are invested into those stocks. If those stocks go down too far because they're leveraged pensions, they're trying to make this however much per year because they're greedy bankers. And we want that, obviously. Pension holders are like, putting pressure on people because they want their pensions to perform. If it decreases by too much too fast, they get liquidated, and see you later to the pensions. So this is the situation that we're in, and I've been banging on about this, honestly, I think I've written 9 newsletters, and every single week I've said that something's going to break, something's going to break, something's going to break, and the Fed have been flipping oblivious, and it looks like it's the whole economy of the world that's breaking. And I know that the Riddlers and the XRP people think they've seen this come in and whatever, but it's all been speculation. But I've been saying why I think things are going to break. But okay, next thing, I'm going to try not to spend too long, otherwise I'm just going to ramble on this whole video, and it's almost embarrassing. Like, I know that the choices are difficult. They're trying to give people energy, all these sorts of things. Like, there's a lot on the plate. There's a lot, but I actually think we're teeing up for some sort of financial collapse. But I actually think what will happen is we'll get quantitative easing come in, so the money's, like, liquidity is going to start flowing back into the market like it already is with the pound, and that actually will give rise to assets again. And this is what I've been trying to say to everyone for so long. Don't focus too much on how negative everyone is in the market about like asset prices, because like people are being so tight, like the Fed are being so tight, and the Bank of England like raising interest rates so much to try and tame inflation. That brings asset prices down, but they've got such a big problem on their hands that on the flip side of that, asset prices can't collapse too much. And then like people don't really want pounds, people want dollars at the minute, but like they're breaking stuff in the economy. So like, okay, you raise interest rates in America, for example, from like 0.25% to 3.5% in 1 year. It's a huge increase, and people can't afford to pay back the debt. They already were struggling anyway. So then what do? You're going to collapse the economy, or you're going to collapse global trade, which is happening. All of these things are all happening at the same time, which is why I've been saying at some point they're going to have to start stimulating growth again, because otherwise growth's going to just absolutely fall off the face of the earth, and it's starting to do that right now, and that takes everything with it. Basically, implosion is happening, but they can save it. This is what I've been trying to say as well. They can save it by pivoting on the situation they're in, and I've been saying I think they're going to pivot, I think they're going to pivot, I think they're going to pivot, and it's made me look a bit like an idiot, but this is what happens if they don't. This is what happens if they don't, and I just don't get it. I just don't get it. So we've got the IMF warning the UK over mini budget tax cuts. So the IMF are even warning the UK, saying like, look, you've messed up big time, basically. I think this tweet is the one. No. Actually, yeah, well, let's watch this tweet first. This is it's just madness, guys. And that's retweeted around the rest of the bloody world at the minute. Like, I can't believe what I'm reporting on, guys, honestly. South Korea, also in the same place. I think I read about, I can't exactly remember. Here we go. Look, the finance minister decided to buy back $1.4 billion worth of government bonds on Friday. $2.1 billion from the market on Thursday. Guys, I don't really know what to say to you. So first the Bank of Japan, which we've already seen, they were doing yield curve control. Then the Bank of England. Then Raoul thinks next the ECB. And I'm going to go more into detail on this in this week's weekly newsletter, so I'm not going to cover it too much. But then you've got this, I nearly swore again, like, I don't really know what to say. Like, let me just go back and watch this again. Janet Yellen, I don't see any liquidity or deleveraging issues. Dollar index is at 20-year high, 10-year yields extend, and currency performance this week, minus 5.3% for the pound, minus 3.5% for the euro, minus 2.2% for the renminbi, and 0.07% for the Japanese yen. Like, what? What is Yellen, the flipping head of the Treasury in the US, looking at? She got her eyes closed. And then there's rumours about her leaving a position, like leaving a job. Like, this isn't the time for people to be just like bailing, like people top of a country. Like, I can't even get into this, because it actually makes me a bit like upset. Like, I'm not the best economist in the world. I'm definitely no way near. But how can I see this? And these guys got their head in the sand. I understand the decisions are hard, but flipping do something. Do something. Be honest. Don't come out here and flip flop and have like inflation expectation control by like saying one thing and then going like the Bank of England, for example. Oh, we're going to raise rates. We're so fucking tough. We're raising. And then all of a sudden, one little thing breaks. Boom. QE. We're buying back bonds. Everything's changing. Pound drops from like 114 down to 103 in like 10 days. What do you expect? Oh, it actually makes me cross. It really does make me cross. I'm agitated this morning about it. Like, okay, so I'm just going to try and just get into the next few things. So, breath. What we're looking for tomorrow, is the Fed going to change? Is the Fed going to pivot? What can the Fed do? Because this is the other thing, is like, it's all fine and dandy, the Fed saying, and the IMF saying, oh yeah, don't do this, don't do that to all these countries. The UK pound is a top 5 currency. The euro is a top 5 currency. The renminbi is a top 5 currency, and as is the Japanese yen. So they're the top 5 currencies that are losing massive amounts against the dollar in a week. So it's all fine, the dollar coming out saying we're strong. Their economy is the same as everyone else's, in my opinion. They're just sucking up, because they're the world reserve currency. They're sucking up their own currency and killing everyone else. And we're supposed to be allies with them. So you tell me if what's going to happen next. In my opinion, they're going to pivot. It's already too late. They should have pivoted 2 interest rates ago. I understand the problem with inflation, but inflation's coming down anyway because growth is dying. I've been saying this every single week in the newsletter, and it looks like they're probably not going to pivot like right now. They're going to wait for something to break, and it's going to be irreparable damage potentially. So I don't get it. Okay, so tomorrow's PCE, personal consumption expenditures. Everyone's looking for that in the US. I personally believe, and I've been saying it, we're going to get a pivot soon from the Fed, which is, like, the markets are pretty messed up, guys. Like, I'm not going to lie to you. What a pivot means, who knows? I think a pivot's going to mean either pausing of inflation rates or maybe some quantitative easing, some stimulus, or just stop the quantitative tightening from the Fed's balance sheet. And I put it in, this is last week's newsletter. I wrote it, there's a date on it. There's all this that I've written about the Fed again. We've seen a breakdown in asset price over the last 2 days since writing this article. However, I will put my neck on the line here and say very soon we will see a reversal in asset prices. Whether we'll see a slightly lower low is yet to be seen. I think the Fed are chasing their tail, and this current narrative will last no longer than a month or two. So if the bottom isn't in, it's close. And I reiterate that right now. This was before anything majorly broken, and now things are smashed. They are smashed. And what the analogy is, what I'm going to say is, what's been happening is they've just been banging on some ice. They've started to crack, because you can see that by how much mortgage rates are going up. All these sorts of things are let's just make another good example. How much mortgage rates are going up. Now, obviously, the UK, the ECB, the euro going down against the dollar, the pound going down against the dollar. There's 1,000,001 factors. They're like cracks in the ice. And then yesterday, with the British pound and buying back the yield curve control, boom, the first little holes actually appeared in the ice. The next hammer's coming down soon, unless they try and plug that hole. But it's already too late. The water's starting to flow out. So what are they going to do? Hit it again and let everything just collapse? And the answer is maybe, I don't know. But what I actually think will happen at the back of this is, at some point, because the Fed have realised, and central banks around the world, that they can quantitative ease and stimulate with cash from their balance sheet, we will see cash come back into the system. That's why I've been saying it's going to go like this, boom, 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 boom. And we're going to see liquidity flow back in, and that means asset prices will rise. So even though the whole market sentiment is awful and all these things suggest that we shouldn't see rise in assets, this is what I've been saying for a long, long time. We should see the rise in assets, because all of a sudden people are going to have a load of cash. Some people need it, some people don't. But the people that don't, they're going to put some cash into the markets. The dollar is going to lose strength. The pound's already losing strength. Where are you safe? No one knows. They're panicking. Okay, we get a chunk of money. Let's bang it into an asset that's hopefully speculative and will go up. You've got to be smart here. I'm going to be putting take profit targets on crypto. Excuse me. I'm going to be putting take profit targets on my cryptos. When I'm taking profits and pulling stuff out, I'm going to tell you I'm not doing it yet, because I actually genuinely think we're going to have a rally in assets, and it could be an explosion, or it could just be a crawl up. Oh God, okay, and I'm just going to keep going. And I actually think, this is the thing that I wanted to say actually, we're on to XRP now. Actually, just before we go on to XRP, I'm 95% exposed. My personal savings, 95% is in XRP. I had about, actually I'd say 90%, because I had about 10% that I was living on in my current account. And I've moved 5% of my current account out today into Bitcoin and ETH. I've moved it into Bitcoin and ETH because I think the pound's going to come down further. And whether Bitcoin and ETH depreciate in value, I don't know. It's not even to speculate on them going up in value. It's just to say I just need to protect myself against the pound. So that's transparent what I've done. 90% in XRP, now 5% split between Bitcoin and ETH. I have some other small investments in things like Flare networks, like WTK that I talked about, but I'm thinking about cashing that, because I think the cash, I'm just going to bang that into maybe XRP, because the returns are going to be better. But I'm scared of the pound. I've literally moved my savings that I'm living off into Bitcoin and ETH, because I think they're going to perform better than the pound, or at least be more stable than the pound. The pound's like a flipping meme coin. Anyway, if you haven't checked out this thread, go and check it out. I basically think now is your last time to get a decent price on XRP, and I'm not a moon boy on it. You know I'm not. If you follow this channel, I've talked about XRP all the time. There's a million things in here. I've talked about the Bank of England. I've talked about what the Bank of England did with Ripple. They've been testing since 2017. Digital Pound Foundation, the chair of the Digital Pound Foundation is Susan Friedman, who's head of policy at Ripple. I've talked about HM Treasury, where John Glenn comes out and says they want to explore distributed ledger technology for government debt. What sort of a better time to do that than right now? We've got Swell. Actually, I'll get onto that at the end. Then we've got the Digital Pound Foundation and the UK wanting to be the home for crypto. John Glenn making his speech about having DLT and the implementation of regulatory sandbox. It'd be 1.95 trillion-ish pounds that could go onto the ledger here if they started to do that. Then in Ripple's recent CBDC video, they basically talk about issuing currencies and other assets. You need to go and check this thread out, guys, because what better time for a country to start using central bank digital currencies and the XRP ledger than when your currency is collapsing? It's screaming out for something like this. Chris Larsen visited London. Ripple in August changed their name in London. Chris Larsen left the Ripple board. Don't know why that is. Maybe he's going to work somewhere else in London. It's next to the Bank of England head office. They have partnerships with UCL. We've got Matt Hancock, a MP in the UK, whether you like him or not, talking about CBDCs for cross-border payments. We're going to need some help with cross-border payments, guys, because the dollar, it's going to cost us so much more now to trade into the dollar, to trade out of that for cross-border payments. So maybe we need help and freeing up Vostro accounts, get some extra liquidity. Ripple's Swell event is in London, 16th and 17th of November. So we've got another month and a bit until then. Could there be something announced there? That's what I've been saying. And yeah, it just makes sense, man. It just actually does make sense. I don't like to be a moon boy and say, oh, look, XRP is going to come through and be the rails, but it actually definitely could. Like, I hold XRP because I think short to medium term, the risk to reward is better in terms of technical analysis than the other assets in the market because of a lot of reasons. Because of flare, this is one of the things. Flare distribution is supposed to be coming out towards the end of October, early November, convenient timing. Because of XLS20, which is like NFTs on the XRP ledger, it's just been amended. It'll probably take a week or two for the validators to put it through, and then it'll be 2 weeks of issuance until we get the votes through again. So we'll see. So that's again about the same sort of time frame. End of October, early November. Ripple Swell event in start of November. I actually think that even based on TA, like Bitcoin and ETH had their Fibonacci extensions up to like the 3.618, and it's about 250% over their old all-time highs. XRP hasn't done that because of the SEC lawsuit, which is another thing. The SEC is settling left, right, and centre at the minute. If there's some sort of settlement with Ripple, the price will explode, no matter what anyone says. Everyone's going to have to buy back XRP, like all the ETFs for like the top 10 ETFs in the world who hold like cryptos. They're going to have to buy back XRP to rebalance it. Exchanges will probably relist. All sorts of partnerships will probably come out the woodwork. Ripple want to get IPO at some point. FOMO is going to be ridiculous if all these things happen. Everything's like compiling, and it looks like between now and like November, middle of November, we've got so many potential catalysts for XRP. So short to medium term, I think it outperforms the market potentially, is why I've had such a big hold in XRP. And actually long term, I do think that we have some sort of infrastructure through XRP. I'm not a moon boy. I don't know if it's going to be the world reserve currency or anything like that. I never have said that. I said there's potential, but what I actually think is it's going to be involved in the new financial system in some way. You can see that through ODL, and what I'm trying to say here is I actually think that's coming faster than we think. So the reason I hold so much XRP is because I think it's going to outperform the market short to medium term, and then long term, I always thought it's that lottery ticket that it could be massively involved in the financial future. No one can guess the complete future of our financial system, but now I think that's closer than ever before. Because I think CBDCs are on the doorstep. I put a tweet out a video out about Christine Lagarde talking about CBDCs. It's coming, guys. It is actually coming. I can't go into it anymore because it's just making my mind hurt a little bit. So there's that. 10-year treasuries may have turned a corner. They're down 6.5% today on the daily. They were ripping. They ripped all the way up above 4%. Now they're down to 3.7, which is not exactly anything to shout about, but it's quite a big cool off in one day. DXY had a big red candle yesterday. It'll be interesting to see what happens with that today. As I said, I bought Bitcoin and ETH. No particular buy target or anything like that, guys. I've literally just bought it for exposure to Bitcoin and Ethereum rather than having exposure to the pound. That's it. No more, no less, no more complicated than that. And yeah, I wrote a thread about the US dollar, so if you want to go and read that, it's not completely finished because my computer started freezing. It's pretty long. It'll give you a bit of an idea about why the Fed are doing what they're doing, and all this sort of stuff with comparisons to the past. Yeah, so go check that out on my Twitter if you haven't already. I've had 1.5 million impressions on Twitter this month, which is amazing. I'm doing a little giveaway with Expector, but I did actually mistype the bloomin' token reward. It's actually 888 times 3 Expector token, not 8,888. So my apologies for that. The reason I thought it was 8,000 is because that's how many you need for an NFT. It made sense to me in my head, like I didn't even read the message properly, but he did say 888. But he's been a bit of a dick to me, to be honest, but well. I made a mistake and I tried to make up for it, and loads of people already entered, so I didn't want to like mug them off, so I've just left it how it is. We've got in the newsletter, see how many spaces we've got 5 spaces left at £10 a month, and then it's going up to £15 a month for the next 25, and then it's going to be £20 a month for everyone who signs up after that. In the newsletter, we give out calls like WTK, it's up 150%. We give out calls like Wazir X, I think that's up like 50 or 45%. I've talked about inflation every week. I've talked about the Fed. I've talked about that they're going to pivot. Talked about things are going to break, and things are breaking. So you don't want to miss out on the newsletter. I think there's some amazing content in there, and I know that a lot of people who have signed up said the same thing and been really appreciative. We talked about price type. We talked about the breakout for XRP. We said it'd be a 35% upside, so you can leverage along there. But yeah, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please drop me a comment and let me know what you think. I'm really sorry that I'm like my delivery hasn't been that efficient in this video, because I'm just amazed at what's going on, to be honest. I am and I'm not. Like, I just thought they would change things before we saw it happen, and now it's happening, and so who knows what's going to happen next. We'll see. As I said, guys, yeah, let me know in the comments if you enjoy the videos. Please share it with a friend. Subscribe if you don't already, and yeah, go and check out my newsletter if you haven't already signed up. Peace up, A-Town down, as Usher would say. Thank you for tuning in.